Hello and welcome to Film Seizure. This week we are covering Dario Argento's Profondo Rosso, otherwise known as Deep Red. Profondo Rosso. That's Jeff Arbuckle. Say hi, Jeff Arbuckle.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
We also have with us Jason Oliver. Hi, Jason.
Rosso.
Rosso. I'm Chuck Moore. I'm Profondo. So Deep Red, the fourth in our trip to Italy this month. There was some back and forth over what was going to be fourth and fifth, but we are doing Deep Red this week. Probably my first or second, it's 1A or 1B, like Giallo for me, for many reasons. And I'm really excited to talk about it. It came late well, maybe not too late, but I'd been watching Giallo for a while after our first trip to Italy. And then finally Deep Red showed up on a streaming service. And I'm like, oh, I'll check this out. Blew me away. Reason one, it blew me away is because most of the Giallos that I loved leading up to this, with the exception of maybe Blood and Black Lace, are true kind of like thrillers, right? They have a killer with the black glove, but they're more like thriller style. They're not scary at all. They don't really jump into the horror realm as much. This one, I was like, damn, this has the vibe. This has the scary, like, it's not like it scares me necessarily, but it has the scary vibe, the dark corners, the cool stuff. But I'll relent here. One of you guys want to jump in?
I was going to ask you, but what do you think about the Mad Doll?
It's one of my favorite things ever.
Fucking creepy as shit.
It's got creepy dolls. It's got a haunted house subplot. It has murders. It's a creepy killer whispering. I mean,
singing like a child, which is
it's got a children's song. I mean, it's got all the elements of the makings of a great horror film, no question.
Yeah, and probably up to this point, I mean, we could probably argue over a few films, but probably up to this point, this was Argento's best movie.
I mean, Suspiria, it still might be. It still might be. Suspiria, I think, is what he's most known for. But I mean,
you could argue kind of
movie. Suspiria is my favorite of his. Now, I guess let's. We've talked about this on the show before.
That's right.
Good point.
Jason and I mean, we got to go back about 290 episodes to episode number 8.
Yeah.
Like, that's not me being, facetious. That was literally 290 episodes ago.
Yep.
Jason and I, with Jason's wife, Susan, we went to a triple banger of Argento movies at the drive-in.
Yes.
And we it was like in September or something.
Yeah, and they showed Suspiria first, Deep Red second, and
Bird with the
Crystal Plumage third. And that one was a first time watch for me. And I don't honestly remember if Deep Red was a first time watch or not. But what I remember the most about Crystal Plumage was it was a 35 millimeter print that was so washed out. It was like completely devoid of any color. It was like watching it in sepia tone. It was so bad. Yeah.
Although, I mean,
there was something like charming about it.
There was a vibe there. Yeah.
There's definitely a vibe there, but it was last and we were kind of tired and it was all in sepia tone. But I like that movie.
There's still some good stuff
that
in
movie.
There.
No doubt I like that movie. But it was not the best presentation of that movie, if I'm going to.
Yeah, I mean, probably not. Who really?
Jeff, you turned around. There you go.
I know. I bought the Blu-ray of Bird with Crystal Plumage. I can't remember if that was an Arrow release also, but anyway,
probably.
But because this is such a jam for Chuck, he's like, I want to talk about this movie. We were overdue for a revisited.
For sure.
In fact, I think we've only done one up to this point, and that was the Batman.
And I believe that
the Batman '89 movie.
And I know even personally myself, like I have also delved into the dreck of Italian cinema a lot more since then as well. Revisited a lot more Argento films, so I feel like I'm better equipped to talk about this movie now as well. than I was back then.
And not only that, we also maybe kind of know what we're doing a little bit more now.
Yeah. A little bit of experience will do that.
Mayhaps. Yeah. Well, I mean,
about 500 hours more experience, probably. Yeah.
Sure.
So Jason said the Drex of Italian cinema. I just want to point out, because we had a conversation last week about Fellini and other Italian directors, like, the highbrow guys that Jason loves, tongue in cheek here. But Bernardino Zapponi was a Fellini writer.
Yeah.
And he wrote Deep Red with Argento because Argento wanted to bring in someone who could add to his flavor. And a lot of the stuff, like the hallmarks of this film, I think Zapponi, however you pronounce it, added to this film.
I want to also qualify that I think this is a very good movie. I think it's a very well shot movie. I think it's unbelievably gorgeous. There is not a frame in this movie that isn't a pleasure to look at.
Well, and not only that, but one of my notes was just that every building, every set, every location is totally unique from one scene to the next. But then also you have like those, like, just the camera in this is its own like character. Like it's when there's one scene in which we're in David Hemming's apartment and it moves through the apartment and then it gets super low and it like follows along the baseboards of the apartment, or not the baseboards, the tiling or the flooring. And then like it gets so close to things that it has such a high resolution on the thing that it's looking at. Like there's a time where it looks at what looks like a pin cushion, but it's like a little yarn, like voodoo doll almost. And it's like you can see every single freaking thread in that thing. When it zeroes in on the tape that plays the children's song, and you can see the imperfections in the plastic. Like it's like it's in, and it's not just it's not just because it was in Blu-ray or in high definition. I mean, it's just, it was in the movie. I mean, like that's how close this camera gets. And I have to imagine it took a special lens to do the things up close like that so clearly.
To keep it in focus, yeah. Yeah. I think this is interesting to me. We'll talk probably about the director's cut a little later.
Yeah.
But right off the bat, I can tell you that the cut in quotation marks version is better because the opening of this movie is fucking perfect. You have the original kind of like the opening credits, but you have that camera push through the red curtains into the gorgeous Italian theater, right? And the camera moving in, and you have that beautiful scene on stage, and that whole scene is great, right? I mean, I almost have to think that in some ways Cronenberg was inspired by that scene when he was shooting Scanners. And
I thought he was.
Was he? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. And then you have the camera move back out just like it came in, and then the curtains close in front of it. It's like fucking perfection. Like that is how you open a goddamn movie. Just beautiful. To put that like weird scene with David Hemming's band rehearsal before that is like, why would you sabotage your own movie, Argento? That's so weird to me.
Well, I do. That's one of the things I do find. There is something interesting about that scene because I do think it does set up two things when you have when you open with the jazz band thing. One, I think it tells you where David Hemmings is coming from instead of him just appearing on an empty street.
Sure.
But it also tells you a little bit about him. It tells you that he is, I don't know what quite the word is.
I think you can place that scene after the theater scene, though.
Oh, sure, you could. But like, it also kind of gives you something to think about as far as the movie itself, because he's talking about how this jazz band, his band, is playing the song that he wrote too well. And he's like, this needs to be trashy. Remember, this is coming from the brothels. And it's like, oh yeah, there's Argento saying, we know what this movie is.
Yeah.
And there's quality to it. But we know what this movie is in the grand scheme of things. It's going to be a little nastier than your typical. And so it's like, it does kind of set that up. At least it did with me when I watched, because admittedly, when I watched the American version, which from now on, I'm just going to refer to Deep Red and then Profundo Rosso as being two different things. Like, but Deep Red, when I watched Deep Red last night, I was kind of in the middle of like some other, like just other stuff that's going on right now. And I was like, you know what? I know I have the director's cut on Blu-ray. I'm going to put that on before we record. And basically, I'm just going to listen for the Italian bits, see what that scene is, and see what's being added. Otherwise, I'm just soaking in Deep Red again. But like, I do find that opening interesting if it's not necessarily properly placed, and as opposed to the more grandiose opening. Now, also, the flashback from 20 years before happens in the middle of the credits instead of before the credits, if I'm not mistaken. I think the flashback happens before the credits. I could be wrong on that. But anyway, I can't remember if that happens right before the push into the theater. Although I will admit, the second time I watched it in such a short period of time, I did notice there is a mistake when it pushes into the theater. You can see a plainclothes person that's obviously a stagehand pulling one of the sides of the curtain.
That's funny.
Because he's just wearing like t-shirt and jeans.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think he works at that theater. Because you don't see it on the other side either.
Yeah, that's
unless you are like actually like watching, like really watching the scene, and maybe it's just
obviously you're I mean it's perfectly framed, right? Sure. So you're looking dead center. You're not looking on the edges. It's very easy to miss, but
right. But and again, I'm gonna say it totally plays up the fact that I had watched the movie twice in like 12 hours or something, or like 15 hours. So it's like, okay. But anyway, so anyway,
I love it though. It's like pre Baz Luhrmann. It's pre David Lynch. It's just like, oh man. I mean, that scene is gorgeous.
It is, and Macha Merrill is great in it too. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce her name, but she is
Mrs. Ullman. Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Ullman.
Yeah, let me get to the character.
It's a French actress playing a German character in an Italian movie. Pretty much picking up all of the countries that always battle each other.
Classic.
So it's like a parapsychology conference, and Helga Ullman is talking about the fact that she's not magical or mystical. She can't see the future, but she can read people's thoughts. And she kind of proves it with the guy who dangles keys. We've all seen these kind of shows, right? So is this really real kind of thing? But
could totally be a plant. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. But then she starts picking up on a sinister person who is projecting thoughts of murder into her brain, basically. And she talks about a child's song, which is prominent throughout the movie. And that this person will kill again. And she freaks out, and as she's leaving the theater with what is his name?
Giordano.
Giordano. Giordani. Yeah. Professor Giordani. She's like, she kind of hams it up, which is kind of funny, like almost like a telephone psychic would do. But she's like, oh, there's still, I could still feel the remnants of this evil person. And you kind of got the killer POV from behind the curtain.
Yeah, probably that off to the side. Yeah.
Plainclothes person Jeff was talking about. Standing
right. Exactly. It was the murder all along.
Well, that's what I think is interesting. One way, what's interesting about this movie is there is no movie if the killer doesn't go to see this psychic one day, right?
Right.
Like they just happen to be like, oh yeah, I want to check this out. And because they're able to know what they know about them, then it kicks off this whole chain reaction of things, right?
Yeah, and it's like the killer chasing Marcus almost the whole time, chasing his leads.
Right, because
The
if Marcus doesn't keep going, then no one else really dies, right?
Right.
Because the police are like fucking useless. Marcus is the only one who's doing any real investigative work here, and yeah, I mean it's all because of him. He keeps the wound open, right?
Well,
Right.
I'll also say one thing that another interesting thing I find in the director's cut, it is not just kind of implied, but it is flat out stated that the cops think he's the killer.
Oh
The
yeah,
director's cut. So he has to find the killer
yeah,
because there's one scene in which he and Gianni are talking about like, okay, I've been around 2 killers or
Right.
2 killings. How long do you think I have to solve this before they find me? And she's like, you got 2 days, basically. And but yeah, they think he's the killer. So in a fuller movie, in a movie that's got all the extra stuff in it, he's doing it to clear his name while also just naturally being curious. Whereas the slimmed down version is he's just curious and the cops suck.
yeah. I like that a little better because that is kind of one of my knocks on the cut version is his motivations. Like he explains it to Carlo as being an exercise for his memory.
Yeah.
Because there's something in the hallway that he saw, but then he didn't see. Right? Like
Let's
he
talk
saw,
about that.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Go tell us about it, Chuck.
Because that is like maybe the only time in a movie where I've seen the killer divulge, not explicitly, but kind of like explicitly right away. So the killer goes to kill Helga. There's this really cool scene of the killer breaking into the house and hatcheting her. And then Marcus is talking to Carlos downstairs for a while. Carlos is his drunk friend who is a pianist. And that's kind of where we get like the character, like description of what Marcus is. He's like an affluent person who plays because he can and he loves it. He doesn't really need to do it. And Carlos is like, he's the one that has to play at the bar and is like a lowly musician, right?
Yeah.
But while that's happening,
I don't know what the fountain of that fountain in Turin is, but it's beautiful. I want to go to that square so bad.
yeah, I meant to look it up and see what the hell that is.
Well, I can tell you one thing, you'll probably be able to see it without an obstructed view because there is fucking nobody on the streets in this town.
Yeah, one of the reasons
it's so empty that even the streetlights are turned off.
one of the reasons that Argento chose Turin is because there are no travelers or no why can't I think of the word right
Tourists.
now? Tourists, thank you. There are no tourists, and he didn't want to fight with that
It's
like
the Fontana del Po,
Fontana
one
del
of 2 fountains which dominate the plaza.
Is the blue bar still there?
I don't know.
Because I want to go there and then sit incredibly still while 2 people outside are talking. So I can look like the painting that's done.
Well, thank you for bringing up the Blue Bar because I don't even know if that's real. It doesn't. Haha. I just looked at and when I looked up the fountain, it says the Blue Bar does not exist because it looks fake, and it is exactly what I thought it was. It was inspired by Edward Hopper's Nighthawks.
But
yeah.
and they have people inside who are sitting still. But if you watch real close, 2 of the guys move just a little bit, but the other 2 people don't move at all.
Yeah, it's totally fake. It's not there. Yeah. It's not a real place. But it was a direct nod to Hopper. Yeah. Interesting.
Nighthawks. So yeah, while he's talking, Carlos goes back, or not while he's talking, after they're done talking, Carlos goes back to the Blue Bar, and Hemmings is about to, or Marcus is about to walk back into his apartment complex, and he hears a scream, and a woman get pushed through the glass and gets her neck lacerated, and he just goes running to her, and it's pretty brutal.
Classic Argento kill too, by the way. The shards of glass in the window.
Yep.
Yep.
Yes,
because that happens in Suspiria too.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't it happen in Crystal Plumage as well? Isn't there like
I
somebody
believe
falls through a
so.
glass ceiling or something in
Yeah.
that?
Well, no, the woman.
Glass
the first,
ceiling is Suspiria.
Suspiria is the first kill of
Suspiria, yeah.
Suspiria, and then she hangs. So
Yeah.
she got hanged by falling through the. Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah,
sure
but-
there's some glass action in glass action.
Glass
The
action.
glass
The glass
action
action
lawsuit.
here.
Yeah, the glass. Well, I mean, a crystal plumage was made out of glass.
True, true. Yeah.
Yeah. And the hero gets stuck between the two panes of glass at the beginning
Oh
of the
yeah.
movie.
Yeah, totally.
That's right.
So anyway, he runs up there, and he walks down the hallway, and it's kind of like focus center to like the first scene is. So you're kind of paying attention forward.
For sure.
I think it's framed that way on purpose.
Yep.
And I didn't. Did you guys catch this the first time you watched it?
No, definitely not.
I did not either. But the killer is plain as day in the mirror for like a half a second,
Yep.
maybe.
Yep.
Which is like it's
That is
wild.
incredibly important for the end of the movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's very ballsy of Argento
It's super
to do.
ballsy. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I can't. I don't think I've seen it since.
They showed us the
unless
killer.
it's- Yeah.
And
If
the
you're trying to
first-
hide the killer, showing the killer is a ballsy move. Like
Fuck yeah, it is.
crazy.
But there's so many mirrors and there's so many weird painting. You just think it's something weird.
Right.
In
It's
one of the
very
paintings.
there's no way you would know what you were seeing if you saw it if the first time, right?
Right. But the second
only-
time,
Oh,
it's
sure.
obvious.
Well, it's obvious, yeah, because
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, it could be anything in that hallway because there's, like Jeff said, it's super busy. Yeah.
Yeah, everything else is legitimately a painting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
you
mean,
would
it's
probably
like- it's
think
like
what's on the
walking-
wall is a painting.
It's like walking down the hallway in my apartment. I've got fucking something all up and down that fucking hallway.
I'm
and
gonna.
one of these days, a killer is going to be.
I'm gonna like tape a picture of the killer in one of your paintings or pictures and see how long
Yeah.
it takes you to notice. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
just any old killer. It's like, oh look, it's Ed Gein.
No, I'm gonna do the lady from Deep Red. I'm gonna do it.
Hey,
Oh my god,
hey,
1974
spoiler alert.
movie spoiled.
Oh my God, it's a lady.
Ladies aren't supposed to kill. I mean, according to Carlo, I mean, ladies are weak and shitty anyway. So,
Oh man, yeah.
So that's. I mean, there's a clear reason for that being
kills me,
used in this movie, and I
Sure.
know like Stephanie didn't like it. I know Susan did not like it.
But I mean, I love that she gives him the business immediately after it. It's so good. Like,
Oh yeah, she arm wrestles. What do they call it? Indian arm wrestling. I
Indian
think.
wrestling or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
When she first shows up, I'm kind of like, oh god, she's gonna be a lot.
oh,
Right?
she turns on the flightiness to like fucking 40. It's
Because
like
when she shows up
just
after the
cranks it.
murder and she just announces her arrival, I'm just like, oh boy, she's gonna be a lot. But actually ends up being a pretty awesome character.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah.
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 Hey, and you know what? That's Argento's wife. So he gave her
Oh,
a nice.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dario
Dario-
Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon.
We probably
Nickelodeon.
talked about that when I was drunk in the episode 8, but I don't remember.
Probably not actually, because I didn't
Yeah, that's-
really realize it until I did a review of Shock.
Also,
Oh, yeah.
Asia Argento's mother.
Mother. Yeah.
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 Because I think eventually they broke
I'm
off
kind
their
of-
relationship.
Yeah,
I'm kind of surprised that those two made something as gorgeous as Asia Argento. Just saying.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Is Asia?
neither
yeah,
one of them are like knockouts, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. Asia's pretty, but I don't know that she's gorgeous.
She's pretty. I don't know.
She's pretty.
pretty. Yeah. She gets away with a lot of naughtiness too, I guess, in her
Yes,
later
she does.
career. Yeah.
Yes, she does.
That elevates
she
her
was kind of-
sexiness.
Beautiful in dark glasses for sure.
And
Where
let's
was I
not forget. Let's not forget. She couldn't be a Bond girl, but she was in Triple X.
Yeah, and she also was married, or not married to, but
Oh, that's a sad
the
story.
living partner with Anthony Bourdain.
Anthony Bourdain,
Yeah.
yeah, sad story.
Yeah, it is a sad story, so we don't need to go into that.
No, let's not. I don't want to get into the libel shit either, because who
No,
knows?
we don't. We don't want to get into that. Somebody might be listening. But so the killer is there in the room with him, decides to leave instead of attacking him. Marcus calls the police. They come. It's at least hinted here that the cops are very much interested in why he was there, what he's doing there.
Well,
you see any Italian movie, it's like this guy, the police are immediately gonna suspect this guy because they're lazy as fuck. And
so you do kind of pick up on that.
Well,
I mean,
it is implied that they are not 100% sure about, but they drop that pretty quick in this version.
Yeah.
And in the director's cut, the whole opening with the cop and with Mark is so combative. He's like, "So what do you do for a living?" He's like, "Well, I'm a pianist." He's like, "Well, what kind of a job is that?" It's like,
yeah, what are you doing here? What are you doing here in Italy anyways? You're foreign.
Yeah. You're foreign. Yeah. You're a pianist. That does not count for anything to this cop.
Yeah, it's a classic Amanda Knox situation.
I think the reason to knock this out, though, because even when you bring the cops in the later scene in the director's cut, they're like, "We haven't figured anything out." So they're pointless. They're pointless anyway. I mean, maybe to define his motivation is one reason I would want them in there.
Well, and then when because like he gives his statement, and in the Deep Red, they just cut straight to he gave his statement, then he goes back out onto the street and talks to Carlo. However, in the director's cut, they essentially arrest him saying, "Oh, we've got to type out your statement. It's not good enough that you gave it here on the scene. We have to take it." And they're dragging him out with neighbors looking. And then he later goes back and
talks to Carlo. Yeah.
Which is like, I just spent 4 hours at the police station and they're wasting my time, basically.
Now, I will say that if you're like the person who discovers a murder, you probably are going to have to go down to the station.
Sure. But they
give a statement.
But they make it look like they're arresting him.
Right.
And that's the difference. And
it really lays it on thick that he's a person of interest. Yeah.
Right. Which
that's
then
fair.
ties back later after Amanda Righetti, and he shows up there too. And that's why he's like, "All right, Gianna, I have like, how many days? How much time do I have to solve this?" And, but yeah. And then there's a whole lot more with her broken car seat. That is kind of hilarious.
Yeah, when he has to go out through the sunroof and all that stuff.
This is goofy, but yeah. I think it was enough in the cut version.
Sure. But like, there's one scene where she drives off and he's just kind of looking out the window like a little child. That is pretty funny in the director's
no doubt. I think there's a lot of funny moments in the movie. The whole thing with him on the payphone and the espresso machine kills me. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like the espresso machine and then her with all the newsroom stuff. Anyway, we'll get there.
That's funny.
Why'd you have to put that machine next to the phone?
Well, but it's right in between a super loud pinball machine and then the espresso machine.
But I just love his reaction to getting like housed in Indian wrestling. Oh my God, it's so funny.
He's like, "But you cheated."
Yeah, it's like, cheated. This is clearly ridiculous. She's like, whatever, big man, testosterone, you showed me.
Hey, he can only show so much testosterone. He's British.
It was funny.
Right now, our listening numbers just goes to 0.
Oh my God. Well, you've already offended the British people enough times.
Oh, I've done that many times. Hey, man, it's the Scottish roots of both sides of my family. So you know what?
Yeah, I mean, I have Scottish roots too, but yeah. Where are we?
Well, I'm Scot-Irish, so
yeah,
we hate the Brits,
We are firmly anti-Brit.
Oh, what is happening? So Gianni puts Marcus's picture in the newspaper.
Yes.
Which pisses him off.
Yes. Why would you do that when there's a killer out there who's not spotted?
She might be strong, but she's not bright about like putting that stuff.
She's very flighty, and she seems to really buy into the magic of the lady of the Ullman character.
She's very much like she's as incompetent as the cops, but in a different way, right? She just wants the story. She wants to, she's the sensationalist.
Well, again, in the director's cut, she asks him, why is it that you play the piano for a living? In which he jokes about like, oh, my psychologist would say it's hatred of my
That's in the movie.
Oh, it is? Because it was...
He said he would beat up his dad and knock his teeth out, which is like a precursor to something that happens later in the movie.
I thought for some reason that was in Italian when I was watching it earlier today.
It was I think it's a longer scene in the director's cut, but it's in
Okay,
the regular cut.
because she talks about how she is a journalist because she likes to work. It's like basically all she can do. So it's like, I mean, not all that she can do, but I mean, I think it's tough in Italy to hold a job.
Well, she's a woman. Like, there's the whole
being
thing.
A woman. Yeah. What are you going to do? You're not going to be a cop. You're not going to be, you're probably not going to be a shoemaker or whatever. It's like, I guess journalism or teacher was where she was going to land.
But that's at least one of two times in the movie that I can think of where something happens to David Hemmings or something he says, excuse me, happens to a character later, because he talks about knocking his dad's teeth out, I'm pretty sure. And that happens to a character. He also gets scolded by steam from the coffee machine.
Yes. Which happens to Amanda Rigetti. And which is why I think we are supposed to, for a while, think Gianna is the killer.
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely set up as that, and she does some very kind of mysterious, suspect things later in the movie. She shows up at weird times.
Yeah, she shows up at weird times. She
walks away at weird times.
Yep, and she is seemingly she seemingly knows things she shouldn't know also, if that makes sense. Like her assisting him seems to be a little bit more convenient than I put your picture in the paper.
But as Jason said,
she's in danger.
She wants the story because it's bigger than anything that she's working on. And if she can break this in the newspaper outside of like the police doing it, would be a huge break for her.
Yeah.
But there is like an air of suspicion around her character too, absolutely, for sure. So Marcus, after this arm wrestling thing, when he freaks out, he wants to go talk to Carlos, and he goes and meets Carlos's mom, who in a very funny scene keeps calling him an engineer who plays piano.
I love it.
She's so weird. Like, in this scene, like, you're like, what is it with this lady? Like, even when you know what you know later, second viewing, third viewing, fourth viewing, you're still like, what is with this lady?
Yeah, it's kind of, you know what it is? You know what it reminds me of? And this is a wild jump, but stick with me. We're also in Italian month. Jumps are going to be our thing here.
Yeah.
So
she never left Italy, I'm sure.
Right. I get I'm reminded of the mom from Sleepaway Camp. Because you see that movie and she shows up and you're like, what the fuck is with that character?
Yeah, she's
then she's just gone. And then after
kind of over the top, like draws a lot of attention to herself and then disappears. Yeah.
And I'm not even, I mean, like, I don't mean this in a way, but like, I think about that lady so much when I watch that movie that it clouds the rest of the movie for me. And it's like, because I'm not even sure that the actress who plays that lady.
Is it the same person?
Well, no.
That would be funny.
But I always ask myself, it's like, is that a trans lady?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like her mannerisms, it's like just layers and layers and layers and layers.
She kind of looks like Liev Schreiber from Mixed Nuts. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but he plays a trans woman in that.
Are we talking about Sleepaway Camp lady or our lady?
Yes, Sleepaway Camp lady. Yeah. Because it's one of those kind of weird characters where you're just sitting there and it's like, what is with this character? And then every time they show back up, or every time you think about like the scene that they're in, and it's like, it's a black hole of all of your interests gets sucked into that. And it's all representative of that single character in this movie.
Well, I think the biggest laugh in this movie for me is when he calls the house later. Who is it? What's his name? Marcus. When he calls Carlos' house again later, and Carlos' mom answers, and he says who he is, and she says, "Oh, the engineer!" She's so excited, and she calls him the engineer again.
I've so enjoyed talking to you.
Oh, it's the best. It's so good.
It's hilarious. I feel like Argento's testing you. with her a little bit.
I
Like
agree.
he's definitely testing you.
Well, he's also kind of painting her as kind of like a
Eccentric.
she's memorable, but eccentric and kind of maybe daffy, right?
Mm-hmm. To which almost
Not our guy. Right.
Not our person.
our guy.
Whereas Gianna is daffy in another way where you think she's our guy.
I agree. First time I saw it, I was like, I don't trust her. She's got shifty eyes. Yep. Totally.
Well, and it doesn't help that she lays on the eyeliner so thick that you have to look at her eyes.
And she has all the information.
She has all
leads
this
to the
information.
people.
She has all the information. Yeah.
She has the information, one, that she has, and two, that she gets that leads to the next person dying.
Yep.
So she,
and then he's asking,
And
like,
and
how
Marcus
are they
is
always getting there
feeding
first?
her the information. So, of course, it's got to be her, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then on top of that, she even says, oh, I just was listening to one of her lectures earlier today. And we know that there was somebody shifty there.
We know that the killer was there.
Yep.
Right.
I wonder why all these people were there. That's like one question I have. Like, why were these people actually at this
I don't know. Not a lot going on in Turin, apparently.
Yeah. Turin's boring. The streets are boring.
Yeah, I know. The street lights don't even work, or the traffic light doesn't even work. There's no Torinists.
All they've got is the shroud of Jesus Christ. That's all they've got.
Jesus
That's the only
Christ.
thing they've got going on for them. It's Jesus.
Although Argento,
just as sweaty ass like melty
Burial garbs.
Argento did say one of the reasons he chose Turin too is because there's a large amount of satanic people there.
Nice.
Oh, really?
And he wanted that to be kind of like a backdrop.
Like
I don't pick up on that.
Why
in the movie
is
at
that?
all, so.
Exactly. That would have to be an Italian thing. Like
maybe he said it. Like, maybe
as an Italian.
Maybe, yeah. Like your preconceived notions going into the movie, knowing it's Turin, would add to your experience.
So maybe the shroud isn't just like sweaty bits of Jesus' dead body, but like some sort of like devil imprint. You know, it's like, aha, we got you. It's the anti.
So I just found the line where it says that on the Wikipedia page, and this is hilarious. It says he chose it because at the time there were more practicing Satanists there than in any other European city, excluding Lyon.
Oh, really?
What the fuck is going on in Lyon?
What's going on there? Let's go on a tour. Let's go to Lyon.
Why didn't you pick Lyon? Why don't you go to France?
I hate it when I know something like offhand and then it turns up it's on fucking Wikipedia too. Like I thought I was sharing something that's not on Wikipedia, but
we didn't know that until
I didn't know that. I just happened to be on the page and looked down and I saw Satanists in blue. And I was like, oh, that's what Chuck's talking about.
Yeah, it is. So who wants to talk about where Marcus goes next, where he finds Carlos?
Oh, at his lover's
Ricci's house.
Ricci. I mean,
it's a wild scene.
Yeah, because I mean, like to a certain extent, it's like, oh, Carlos is dating Buffalo Bill. Because that looks a lot like Ted Levine.
A little bit.
Like a younger and it's like, well, that would make sense. But no, it's and it's like, and then Carlos is like, oh, you found out I'm a homosexual too. And it's like, and he's just like, you're drunk. Let's get get you sobered up and let's get you out of here. I'm not entirely. Why exactly did he go there to get him? Was it because the mom asked him he was there and he's like, well, I don't know why he goes there.
It's nagging him about what he said about the memory being important.
That's right.
It's nagging him.
That's a really key. It's a really key line that goes on way too long. The director.
He's like, it's important, but he's like drunk. Carlos drunk,
right? And he's like,
Hemmings is like, you unlocked something in me. Maybe if I talked about this with you some more, I can find it. Right?
Because the whole thing is he thinks that there's a missing painting because what he saw isn't there anymore. And Carlos says basically, it's like, well, maybe what it's like, maybe this is important for you to try to piece together. Maybe this is basically saying, maybe this is what you need in your life, is this kind of thing to piece together, this puzzle to put back together. In so many words, I'm very drunk. The only thing
that's definitely the way Marcus takes it.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Now it goes on a little bit too long in the director's cut. However, there is one thing that is said in the director's cut that's not in the original that is kind of key to the finale, but they couldn't leave it in because of the way that it would have had to have been a really weird cut. Carlo does say to Marcus that maybe what you're remembering is only a version of what is real, and that would certainly play up to that.
That's giving away a little too much.
It's giving away a little bit too much, but it does. I think it finally clicks. It's like, oh, it's the reflection. It's the reflection that is.
Should we also talk about the fact that at this point, does Carlo know who the killer is?
Well, no, he has to because they trade off, I think.
I don't think he kills anyone.
I don't think Carlo kills anyone.
Well, he tries to kill one person.
Well, he does, but I don't think any of the kills in the movie are by Carlo.
I agree.
I'm just saying when they're having that conversation the next day, does Carlo...
I think he does because of what his mother says later, which is he only ever tries to protect me.
Yeah, but she also says he didn't kill anyone.
Right. So I think we're kind of putting going ahead in the story.
I just want to know at this point in the story what he knows.
I think he knows. I think he knows.
He knows. I think he knows his mother killed the woman.
So he's not doing what he says he did at the end of the movie, where he's trying to get David Hemmings, Marcus, to not pursue this.
He is, because the woman is already dead. And then he tells Marcus, hey, just leave town. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, he does tell him.
Because the only reason people are dying, he doesn't say this, but the only reason people are dying is because you are
pushing
this.
Yeah, that's fair. So, that's fair. Yep.
Yeah. So I think the only things that Carlo really does is knock David Hemmings out.
Yeah. I agree.
Which would have killed him in the house fire. But I don't think he tries to kill him. He's trying to stop him from figuring out what's going on.
I agree. I agree there for sure.
Yeah. But it's hard to know for sure.
But then luckily, surprisingly, interestingly,
well, we can't go all the way there.
Yeah,
we can't go all the way there.
Right.
Let's just stick this back. I just wanted to. I wanted a motivation check on the character.
So the original woman, Ullman, is dead. Gianna has put Marcus's picture in the paper. So feeling bad, she decides, hey, I can help you. Let me help you try to figure out what's going on, what you saw, everything that.
But he's like, fuck you. I'm doing this on my own because you beat me in arm wrestling and you're weak.
You're weak. He would have been fuck jazz piano. He would make a killing on YouTube with this attitude of his.
It's true.
We do need to focus on that for just a moment, and I'll make this quick. That arm wrestling match and him saying women are weak is all a setup for you to first doubt a woman can. Oh, did I freeze? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you're breaking up there.
Say that again.
Try again.
Where did I start?
It's all a setup. It's all
a setup. Her being weak is
a setup for
her being weak is all a setup for the killer not being a woman. Right.
Yeah,
sure.
But then her winning the arm wrestling match is supposed to indicate, okay, maybe the killer could be a woman.
An element of doubt. Yeah.
Well, so it is kind of shitty that Marcus has to say these things.
I get it.
Yeah, I'm bringing it up for the audience, not you.
I know. Yeah, I know. I agree. I 100%. And it really doesn't taint the movie for me. I mean, Marcus is kind of the shithead, but he grows.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but now it also is all, I think, meant to. It's kind of meaning to do two different things with Gianna too, because we've kind of skipped over in a couple of important scenes. She goes with Marcus to the funeral of Ullman, where she's like, this person is the person who brought her here. He's also really into parapsychology. They are more than friends. So, so it's like he practically she knows a whole lot about the woman who's dead and the company she keeps, because the other guy,
She was there at the thing.
well,
the conference,
but that, I mean, they didn't talk about how he practically kept her in that. So it's like, she knows the juicy bit. She knows the personal details of these people, not just like that. But then the other guy who was there on the stage, she said he's also a clairvoyant, which he really only does one more thing in the movie.
he points out the house.
Well, he talks about the children's or the folklore story.
Yeah, he points out the house.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah.
But he,
Yeah, that's like the most amazing recall in the history of recall.
He's a
by the way.
clairvoyant.
Yeah.
yeah, he saw it coming.
Fair enough.
He saw Marcus coming.
It's like, I remember this super obscure story in this lecture once, and this might be like important for you.
Yeah. I do have a note about that, but yeah. So like basically he goes to see them, and it's like, basically you trying to be like, okay, well, here's what I saw, here's what I know, and here's what, there's this, singing, like this children's song. And, cause he also gets,
Well,
The
this
killer
was
came to my
after
house.
this is
Came
after
to
the
him.
killer tried
Yeah.
to kill him. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
Which
and
is
it whispers-
that's like one of the scariest scenes in the movie, in my opinion.
Agree.
Oh yeah, because that's also where like the camera is like following along the. It's almost like mist
and
coming
the
in.
ceiling plaster is falling on the piano, but he doesn't notice but the killer's walking on the roof.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because when he realizes the killer's there, he continues playing while he's grabbing a weapon to protect himself, which I'm
Right.
like, that's
Phone
so
rings,
fucking
and it,
smart.
And it breaks the whole thing, and he runs to the phone and he closes the door and locks it.
And then the
Yeah.
killer from the other side of the door is like, you're safe this time, but I'm going to get you.
Yes.
Yeah, fucking
Yes.
scary.
It's
Yeah.
super scary. And the way he says, this time you're safe, but I'll kill you next time sooner or later.
Yeah.
Love it.
So creepy. It's so creepy.
Yeah. And and it was Gianna who called, which it is a point in her favor at that
for
point.
sure. For sure.
Early on, but at the same time, again, we don't know, is it multiple people involved? Is it, whatever. So he, so then he goes and talks to Giordani and whatever the other guy's name is. Yeah, the other guy. I think that's his name.
Yep.
Barty. It's Barty, isn't it?
I really don't think he's even, it's like Rhodey or
I think so. Barty. Yeah, I think Barty is right.
Because I think Rhodey is the father later.
it's one of those people.
Yeah.
Barty,
Anyway.
sure.
So
Yes.
he's like, yeah, so they're basically, it's like, so is this the music that you heard? And he's like, yes, that's it. And by the fucking camera is so close. You can see the grooves on the
grooves
vinyl.
in the record,
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Yeah, it's cool.
Anyway, so he's like, yeah, that's the song. And he's like, okay, well, that reminds me of this thing, and so it's like, he's talking about how, it's like, there's this old ghost story, this old tale about this house where it's like people would hear that song with children, with a child's voice humming it.
La, 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 la.
Yeah.
And the story is called The House of the Screaming Child.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so, because supposedly the child was heard screaming, and then, anyway. And he's like, oh, cool. Well, it's like, well, the woman who wrote the story is Amanda Righetti. He's like, oh, cool. Do you have that book? And the guy's like, no, you would find that book at the Library of Folklore and Popular Traditions. To which I was like, what is this?
have
Where
that?
is this? Yeah,
Yeah,
what is
I
this?
wanna
Where is
go.
this? And how can I go there?
That sounds amazing. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah, so it's like that's his next stop along the way, and that's where he finds the picture of the house, and he reads a little bit about the story, and it's basically just a couple of pages about the story, but he tears out the picture of the house.
Dude, just get a library card. Dude.
Yeah,
Maybe
take
they
the
don't-
book out, bro.
Like, what an asshole. Just
Yeah.
rips up a library book.
It does
He's
not-
English. He's
That is
British.
that is a massive dick
Imperialistic.
move right there. Yeah.
This isn't my book now. Rip.
Man, I mean, if the
For
misogyny
the
weren't
empire.
if the misogyny weren't bad enough, he's ripping up library books. Man,
Yeah, this guy. Oh,
this guy's
what a punk.
Fucking asshole.
So
Anyway.
he notices in the house of the screaming child the picture that there is a plant
Yeah. Yeah.
that somehow actually doesn't he go to Amanda Righetti's house first?
He was there first. That
Yes.
whole
'cause
thing goes
she's-
down first.
So my favorite scene in the movie is Amanda Righetti's house.
It's
Go
good.
for it.
It's good.
Hit it.
You go for it.
For sure. So Amanda is talking to her housekeeper. She goes back, the housekeeper leaves. She goes back into the house and she notices a doll, a little plastic doll, like swinging from the ceiling. So she runs
Which is
back
most
out.
commonly what's on the poster.
The image that's
Yes, the
associated
poster of the
with
movie,
this
for sure.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, and
There's
also
like
for
a
the
Vertigo
banner, just
poster.
look upwards if you're on our website, and there it is.
Ah,
It's
there
on
it
the
is.
banner.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. So she runs outside, I think, to ask the housekeeper about
Come
it.
back, but she's already like gone.
But she's gone down the road and she hears the door close. So she walks around into her house. She realizes somebody is in there with her. She grabs a sewing needle and one of her birds flies at her and impales itself, which is fucking weird.
It's so weird. Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
a creepy imagery. Then you see this dead bird on the ground and the lights go out in the house. Well, the lights had already gone out. When she walks around the corner, this is like fucking Michael Myers Halloween shit.
I'm glad you said that because, real quick, there are 2 Halloween references here in this scene.
Proto reference.
Sure. But you have her grabbing the yarn needle,
Yeah.
It's like
crocheting needle. That's the first thing she stabs Michael Myers with
right.
in the first one and
Absolutely.
gets him behind the couch.
Behind the couch. Yeah.
And then her demise is in Halloween 2.
Yes, I had that written down that was way before my favorite kill in Halloween 2. Yep.
So yeah, and even like when
Jeff.
when she comes around the corner, that like the killer Michael Myers is into the frame too, and then is like behind her, and she leans over, and the killer's there, and she whomever.
That's why I guarantee Carpenter knew Deep Red when he made.
This
Halloween.
is old
Guarantee.
Halloween. This whole scene to
Yeah. I mean it. Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
Cronenberg knew Deep Red. Carpenter knew Deep Red for sure.
which is wild to me. But this was like kind of an international hit, right? Like it did well overseas,
Yeah,
as far as I know.
I think so.
But yeah, then how was she killed? The hottest water in the universe is
in her tub.
is in her tub, and she
It's
gets
scalding as
boiled.
hell.
She gets boiled alive, not even really drowned, I don't think. But she's smart.
Yeah.
I can't remember what she writes. Steph said it was Texas.
It was etas in Italian as
But there was more to
Oh.
it that we aren't privy to.
that we don't see, but Giordani sees it.
Yes, because
And
that's
then
what gets him
that's
got.
what gets him
Yep.
got. Yep.
Yeah. So, but it's cool, like the way he figures it out, because Hemmings went there first and sees that the chalk outline of her hand, he actually saw the body, was like pointing at the wall.
Yeah.
So then
And he's like,
Giordani,
that's odd.
yeah, that's odd. Giordani goes back later, and when the lady turns on the water, he sees the steam, and he's like, aha.
It's a cool moment of deduction because he leaves and then he stops.
Stands in the doorway. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's
Well,
like,
it's-
wait a minute, and he comes
It's
back in.
so cool. It's such a cool clue drop
Yeah, it is.
in a movie. It is. This is where when you get a
This
good
is like Agatha
giallo,
Christie cool shit right here.
Yeah.
Right, well, I mean, it went in a good director's hands. An Italian giallo is masterful,
Mhm.
and this is Dario Argento's like. This is more so than anything. Even though Suspiria is my favorite movie, this
Suspiria is not really a giallo in my opinion.
No,
This
it
is-
really
this
kind of
is
isn't,
this is
but-
his masterpiece of giallo.
and this
great.
is his masterpiece scene
Yeah.
of his masterpiece giallo.
And yeah, absolutely. Like I agree. Like it really kind of connects everything together, the first part and the last part of the movie, because it's kind of crucial.
Well, and it's also shot too perfectly because it's like, okay, you see the steam, you see her get boiled, you see her start to reach and like, like doodle something onto the mirror, and then the killer turns off the water and opens the window and it all disappears.
Yep.
But what is true about something that you put into condensation, it comes back. Yeah. And it will come. And it's like, and when the guy figures that out and he starts turning on all the hot water, it's like, oh, that's perfect. Fucking perfect.
It's brilliant.
I'll tell you what. I think it's even doubly cool because it isn't crucial. It isn't crucial at all.
He never gets to pass the information along.
No, it isn't crucial at all. But it is the fact that he has it figured out. And you're like, and he knows it, and he's excited to know it. And then
he tries to call.
And he tries to pass the information on, but he's thwarted by our killer.
And that's when we also get Chekhov's roadwork truck.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Oh,
really?
when
he's trying to call, when he's trying to call, David Hemmings is on his way home and he passes the truck that will get one of the characters, because it's the same two guys, and it's a truck that has has the things that stick into the ground so that it can lift up something to work on power lines or on a pole or whatever. And so he passes that and it fucking shows it to you. It shows you the whole goddamn thing so that later in 2 days he's gonna get somebody.
Funny. But yeah, it is interesting that he figures it out. He knows who the killer is, but he isn't able to pass it along to anyone because the crazy doll sequence, which is fucking awesome too.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. So
yeah,
this creeps me out every freaking time. Because so
this is that sequence makes me think that it's Carlo, though, doesn't it? Like, doesn't that seem more in line with, like, the way Carlo would fuck with somebody rather than his mom?
I don't know. But
like, with the toy and everything and, like, the child, like, trauma. I don't know.
But the mom plays the song every time she kills someone.
It's true. That's true.
Like, she legit plays the damn song. She brings a recorder with her and plays it.
Yeah.
Before she kills somebody.
That's true. That's true. I don't know.
I think it's just a cool scene. Like, Argento had a working fucking doll built.
Well, you know who built it?
Who built it?
Carlo Rambaldi.
E.T.
E.T. So, well, even more than E.T., Jeff, you know what movie he was responsible for a lot of these special effects for the very next year? King Kong, 1976.
Yep.
All the animatronics he built.
Animatronics.
He built Kong.
Sorry for calling you out there, but that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's and he made that little puppet in Deep Red. Yep.
And it gets broken in like one scene. It has like one.
It has one moment.
It gets used once.
Yep.
Like, I think in life and like reality, it gets used once and it gets broken.
The actor kept that doll though.
Oh, really?
Oh, Giordani did?
Wait, no, wait a minute. No, that's not what I'm thinking of. Sorry, I was thinking of something else. Sorry. No, but yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of another whole thing.
You're thinking of Tammy and the T-Rex or something.
Yeah, Tammy. Yeah, Denise Richards has the T-Rex in her back.
Yeah.
But anyway, Rambaldi. I mean, we talked about him before. He was the guy who did the alien in Close Encounters with the arms. He did him. He was responsible for some of the alien head movements in Alien. Created E.T. Yeah, legend. Fucking legend.
So we have some pretty important people associated with this movie. Even the writer, which elevated, I think, all of the kills to like, so that's cool. That's cool that the people in this went on to do big things.
So I think let's set up the scene again here because, so like Giordani is trying to call David Hemmings to say, I got it. And he's like proud of himself too. Like he's like walking or he's like,
oh yeah. He's all puffed up.
He's got it, man. He has got it. He's got, and he's his new friend, his new friend is going to be off the hook here. So he's trying to call him, but Hemmings is out. And that's why I say you see him pass the truck that we get later. And so he then, because meanwhile, while he was figuring it out, Marcus was at the other house. at the house that's got the painting on the wall. We'll talk more about that here in just a second. But anyway, he's driving home, and the guy starts hearing the music, so he picks up like a poker. I think it's like like a fireplace poker. Or no, he picks up a gigantic knife. That's what he has, a gigantic knife for some reason on his desk. And he picks that up, and he's gonna defend himself. But then
I like the smile he has when he picks up the knife. It's hilarious.
he's like, "Ha!" Yeah, and he is feeling so good about himself and everything.
It's like everything's coming up that guy right now.
Everything's coming up
Giordani. Everything's coming up Giordani.
Until it's not.
until he gets Millhouse. Yeah. So he picks up the knife, and then he's like, "Ha!" And the music stops, and then he's like, "Okay," and it's like just a long shot of that doorway, and then out that fucking closet comes that doll thing, to which he does the only sensible thing: he hacks the shit out of it. Yeah. Fuck this thing.
Oh yeah.
I think every time the music stops in that scene, I'm like, fuck you, Argento, because it's like so abrupt. I mean, it's perfectly used, but it's like, I was just getting into this jam, bro.
Yeah.
Well, and then, so that thing comes out, and so he smashes it, and he's like, haha, yeah, I got it. And then out of fucking nowhere, the killer comes and bashes his teeth face in on his fireplace, on his mantle.
That's a brutal kill.
It's American History X shit, man.
Yeah, it kind of is.
He kind of gets sort of curb stomped on his mantle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, this happened earlier with Ullman, happens again with Giordani, when they're like, because when she was on the stage and she's having to flip out about about hearing the thoughts of the killer, she takes a sip of water and she like immediately like blah, 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 like drools it all out. He does the same thing with his whiskey.
Yeah, he does.
He takes a drink, and then the music stops or whatever, and then he's like, bleh, and he like just drools it all over himself. And it's
paralyzed with fear.
I guess. I mean, Italians must have a hard time
paralyzed
their
with
drink.
Fear.
And that's when I developed my drinking problem.
While Professor Giordani is getting face smashed. Yeah, curb stomped.
Face smashed.
Marcus is investigating exotic plants and trying to figure out where the house is. Where is the house of the Screaming Child? Is it in Spain? Is that where this is? Does he have to go to Spain?
Yes.
I thought so. So he goes to Spain to find this house because he gets a tip about the plants. It's a little like a little bit of an eye roll, but it's whatever. You're
not letting that go. You are not letting that go. What's your problem here, Jason?
No. My problem really is just like it's even in another country, right? But he finds somebody in Italy who knows the house where this plant is. I don't know. It's kind of
because he sent it there. I don't know. Yeah, it is a little.
It's whatever. I mean, whatever. It's fine. So he goes to the house, and this. All right. Look, there's a lot of creepy moments in this movie, but there is one moment that is creepier beyond the pale in this movie, and it has to do with a little girl named Nicoletta Elmy.
Oh yeah, Nicoletta Elmy. She's creepy.
God. She's creepy just on her own, right? But the scene where he finds the house, and he goes to find the caretaker. The caretaker tells him, he can get the key. He's going to give him the key. But there's this little girl.
The house is not in Spain.
It's not in Spain?
The plants are from Spain. Oh. The house is actually in Turin, so it's still there.
So that kind of makes more sense.
So the plants were imported. He found the plants were imported
because there was a specific condition that the plants had to meet to be able to grow.
Well, of course, because of
Spain being
and of import export and invasive species, that would be a big deal.
Okay, we're good.
And there was only one house that could grow that, or there was only one successful growth of that plant.
Right. Makes sense.
Beyond the pale creepy.
Okay, so this little girl is like, she's eavesdropping on this whole conversation, and then she's all like, "You don't want to go there. That place is haunted. It's scary." And then the dad, the dad who the caretaker of this, at some point, like, he smacks her across the face. He says, "I told you to stop doing that." And she looks at him with defiance in her eyes. Probably like, what, 10-year-old girl?
Yeah.
Defiance in her eyes, licks her lips, and grins at him, smirks at him.
She liked it.
I want to know her story after this movie ends, because she's creepy as all fuck. Because then it pans down, and what he was referring to was she was sticking sewing needles through lizards. She was killing lizards. I mean, she's showing, psychopathic tendencies, but she took the slap and smirked at her dad. It's like, whoa, that's creepy, and that doesn't need to be there.
No, but it does.
Because there's a creepy child involved, probably.
They're reinforcing the fact that the original killer was a kid.
Right. So maybe
they're trying to tend to make us believe that.
Right, that maybe she's involved somehow, right.
Not her necessarily, but that it is a kid. A kid is capable. Yes. Yeah. Yes. That's the way I took it anyway.
But the kid isn't the original killer.
We know.
No. Not at all.
I'm saying it's trying to reinforce the idea that the kid could be, because we don't know.
What we're about to see in the house is going to imply
that
a kid was the original killer of this whole thing.
And the kid had a knife in the beginning of the movie too.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That actress, Nicoletta Elmy, she was in Footprints, which is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
A year or two after this, I think. And she's really good in it too. She has a much bigger role, but she
blossomed into a pretty lady too, right?
Yeah, she was in Demons. She was like 18, 19 years old in Demons. She was a usher in Demons.
Yes,
yeah.
She's the one who takes the ticket.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And she was in some early Bava films as even younger girl, like probably 6 or 7. Yeah.
Yeah. Bay of Blood.
Bay of Blood.
Yeah.
Good for her, man. She was in some
cool stuff, but Demons was the last one. She didn't do anything after Demons.
So, I mean, the picture
other than
of
some
her,
TV. She did some TV.
The picture of her in the on Wikipedia is of her creepy little ass self from fucking Deep Red.
I know.
It's so creepy.
It's truly like iconic, honestly. Like,
it is. It's just creepy.
When she takes that slap, licks her lips, and just smirks at her dad, it is chilling to the goddamn bone. It really is.
I mean, Argento gets some good kids in his movies. Like, even, and I hesitate to call her a kid. I don't know how old she was, but even the sleuth girl in that worked 12. At the hotel in Tenebrae.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The landlord's daughter. She was 17, I think. Yeah.
But she was a kid. I mean, for all intents and purposes, totally. She was a kid. She was great in that. Like, he gets good kids in his movies.
Was she the babysitter or the girl you're talking about, Chuck, in Tenebrae?
No, she was the one who got chased by the dog to the house and discovered all the paperwork in the basement.
It's Laura Wendell.
She worked at the hotel.
Okay, yeah.
She's a handy woman or something.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Her first role was My Dear Killer. She was the little girl who was kidnapped. And that was Laura Wendell. And I mean, she had a pretty interesting career as well. But Tenebrae, that's probably what she's most known for.
She's great.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the girl licks her lip.
She shows up later in Killing Birds. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
Super creepy moment. But then my second favorite scene in this movie is when Marcus realizes there's something behind the wall in the house, and he's like digging the plaster out with his fingers, and you could feel it, right?
Yeah,
you could feel it.
Yeah.
It's so effective. And then just when you're like, please stop, he finds a piece of glass, and you're like, no.
Yeah, that's even worse. this is Argento. No,
he's gonna cut his hand off. No,
it's somehow gonna end up in his face.
Yeah, but then he finds,
and it kind of does later. Yeah.
He finds the picture of that fateful Christmas morning, but he only finds a part of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Which doesn't give him the whole picture of what's going on in the story, which is
And I love the little
fantastic.
tease of that when the little piece of plaster falls
Falls
off
off.
and you see that there's another figure involved. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good.
But then later he it's in his head now. It's like there's something not right with the house.
Right.
What was not right about the house? What was not right about the house? And that's when he calls up Carlo's mother again. And she's like, oh, the engineer. And then when he's looking, he's like, shit. And she's like, what did you say? He's like, nothing, bye.
I gotta go.
I gotta go. But he realizes
There's a window.
there's a window missing.
Yeah.
There's a window in the picture, not on the house. And he's like, son of a bitch, window. See, that's also why it can't be Spain, because he goes back there like immediately.
Right. I wonder, like, so when I was a kid, there was always stories about houses in Western New York that had a boarded up or covered over window because somebody died.
Oh
a
yeah.
room.
Oh yeah. I'm sure there's every town has
I wonder if they go back to like this, or if this is like using a legend from before that's like global. You know what I mean?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, maybe it was, goes back to like early Romani days of like, you have to cover up a window or a werewolf will get you or something,
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah. It's like, and if a werewolf got you, you got to go into the boarded up window or what. Yeah. I don't know.
But this is when Marcus proves that men are definitely stronger than women.
Yeah. When he fucks up.
When he hangs off the fucking wall and tries to break into the house like an idiot instead of going inside.
He tries to Tom Cruise that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And he almost I tried to think of the name of someone that fell and died, but I probably shouldn't go there anyway. He almost falls and dies trying to get in there.
Exactly. But he does get back in and he starts like busting out a wall. And he looks in and it's like at first, it's like you're looking around. It's like, that's weird. It's just a room. And so there's the window, or there's where the window would have been. Oh my God, there's a skeleton.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, oh boy, something's not right here.
So the man who died there did not fall to his death out a window. He's still boarded up in the house.
Yep. And so he ends up talking to the father and the little girl again. And the little girl has the picture that's on the wall. And he's like,
yes.
And that's when he starts slapping her around.
Oh my gosh. He gets way handsy with her. Yeah.
She's like shaking her on the arm.
Yeah,
and then he like slaps her.
He's like holding her arm real tight and shaking her. Yeah, man.
Yeah. And then he slaps her once, I think.
And
did you mention that?
And Dad doesn't care because Dad's like, she's fucking
She's
devil
evil.
child anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
did you mention that he got knocked out and the house got lit on fire?
Oh,
and
yeah.
that
So
Gianna had to save him.
Yeah. So he ends up getting knocked out. And then Johnny shows up, somehow pulled him out, obviously stronger
right.
of the sexes. Because
Right,
he
yeah,
pulls
obviously.
him out.
What'd she say? A little bit later, you would have been a roast duck.
A roast duck.
Yeah.
She's so weird, man.
Which is still kind of like, ooh, a little bit suspicious. Like, but
Yeah, it's like, how did you get here? Why are you here? Because
He left a note on his door.
he left a
he
note
did.
on his door because in the director's cut he's like, you're right. Because she had told him in director's cut, it's like, you need to get out of town. Let's go to
Spain.
Well, she originally said, let's
That's
go
right.
to Lebanon. And he's like, I don't like flying. And then she's like, okay, then, and he says, well, we could just go to Spain, go home, pack up, and I'll come pick you up here in a little bit. And then
It's all inconsequential, though.
it is all inconsequential, but it's all like, oh, she goes off and leaves. And then he's like, that's it. That's the difference in that. If something's not right about this house, I think I know what it is. I'm going to go and check it out. And then she ends up following him there.
Rich comes back and sees
he gets an
the note
idea
on
in
his
that
door.
moment, and he's like, "Oh, I got to go back to the house one more time."
Because originally he was just going to fuck off. He was like,
Right.
you're right. I'm getting out of here before the cops come and get me,
Yeah.
or whatever. So, but yeah, so that is why she's there. But it does, if you don't really realize that, because I'm not sure that he actually tells her he's going there.
He left a note on the
He
door.
left a note.
But did it say where he was going?
Yeah, I'm going to this house.
He even asks her, and she was like, "You left a note." He's like, "Yeah."
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You need to get the director's cut out of your brain because
Yeah, you do.
No,
you forget
Messing
stuff.
with you.
No, it's not. Because it's all there. It's just that I didn't realize that it actually said where he. I just thought.
Yeah, he
said
directs
he'd
her
be
there.
back. Okay,
He directs her.
I thought he just said I'd be back or whatever. Okay. So then that's when they end up at the caretaker's house and the daughter, and she's got the picture, and he kind of roughs her up a bit. It's like, where'd you get this picture? Where'd you get this picture? Where'd you get the picture? And she's like, I got it at the school. It's like, what school? Smack. And he's like, the Leonardo da Vinci house. And all while she's like, I'm going to stick a needle in you, motherfucker.
Right. That's the sequel.
That's Deep Red 2. That's the opening scene of Deep Red 2 is him getting killed.
Yeah, totally. God.
It'll be like Friday the 13th part 2.
Exactly.
I like it.
I like it a lot.
So yeah, they go to the school. Gianna. There's a Giordani and a Gianna, so it gets
I
kind
know,
of
it's so
confusing.
Those
She kind of fucks off a little bit and is a
She
little
goes
bit
into
suspect.
another room. Yeah.
It's like, should we call the cops and tell them we're here? And then she picks up the phone, and you hear the killer whisper.
Yeah.
So you're clued in at this point.
Yep.
Mark,
But the first time I saw it, I thought, they're gonna huddle up. It's like, this is how we're gonna get this motherfucker, or whatever.
oh,
Exactly.
But you're buying into the two killers.
I believe that there's still an element of suspicion there too. Yes, agreed.
Either she's gonna get it, or she's going to scream, and it's gonna tip off that she's not to everybody. I mean,
And the fact that she doesn't scream leaves that air of suspicion there.
Right.
For
because
sure.
she's like, what? Yeah. It's like, maybe now is not the time to be whimsical.
I mean, she was calling the cops anyway.
Well, she was, because she's like, shouldn't we call the cops? And he's like, yes, go do that. By the way, go to the furthest room away from me to do that.
Well, that's where the phone was.
I know. It's just it happenstance that it sets up a whole other scene where he does not know what's happened to her.
But Marcus finds the picture. He finds the name. They don't clue us in, but he finds Gianna. She's been stabbed. She's like, do you know who it is? He's like, I know who it is. And then he's like, I know who you are. Killer, come out. There's no sense hiding.
I think she even says, I'm sorry. Like, oh, this is somebody really close to him.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, she ends up, because the killer's there. He's like, yeah, let's not play the game anymore. I know who you are. And he turns around. It's like, Carlo. It's like, dun, 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 Carlo is there, and there it is.
And then a moment happens that could have completely ruined this movie. Like, legit completely ruined it.
Well, he's like, I'm going to shoot you. And then the cops just like barge in through the fucking window, which like, God, dude, he's pointing the gun at this completely innocent
Yeah, they don't
person.
care. They're Italian. They'll fucking break in. It's like all wild.
What could have ruined it, Chuck? I want to hear what you have
The
to say.
truck kill.
What about
Like, it's so fucking ridiculous.
Okay, well, we're not there. We're not there yet.
Yeah, it happens just next.
No.
it happens just next.
But wait, but no.
It's so good.
But there's like, he's holding him by the gun. Or he's like end of a gun. And he's like, basically it's like, you kept pushing. And he's like basically blaming Marcus for everything,
all the killings,
for all the killings, because like you kept pushing it. And like, he's like, well, what are you going to shoot me or whatever? And then that's when the cops like come busting in.
Yeah.
And it's like, he like, seriously.
He darts out. They're chasing him.
I need to say how fucking close the star of our movie was of being gunned down pointlessly by the cops, using the fucking loudest way to come into a room when a guy is like pointing the gun at him and is all like acting like shifty and shit.
Jeff talking like it's his first Italian movie.
Yeah, what's up with that? What's up with that, Jeff? Come on.
Fair enough. But still, it's like, come on, guys. It's like, holy
Incompetent
shit.
cops is like the whole thing in Italian Giallos, right?
Okay,
They're just
so
completely incompetent.
forget the incompetent cops. Carlo runs away. He jumps a fence. He thinks he gets away. Chekhov's
And then
truck.
Chekhov's truck comes along.
Truck. I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it. Chekhov's truck comes in. He rolls down the side of it like 6 times, and then the hook gets him, and he gets dragged up a room.
I mean, it's a rebar.
Yeah, rebar, whatever. It's like a hook. It grabs him and drags him for like 22 blocks.
And they keep switching back to the guys in the cab of the truck, and they're like, it's like, did you not feel, hear, or see the guy run into the side of the truck? That's amazing.
No, but they finally don't notice until his head hits a fucking curb. And he's dead.
Then they stop. Well, no, that's not.
No, he's not quite dead yet.
The curb is not what kills him. The curb is no, it's not. It is not, because he's
I'm
still
pretty sure he's dead.
He's gasping for air, and then a car comes by and smashes him like a fucking watermelon.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the best part. It's like a fucking trauma movie. It's great.
So this is so incongruous with everything that's happened so far.
I don't care. I love it.
Well, hold on. Somebody asked me why it could have ruined the movie. It's so incongruous with everything that happens leading up to this point, but it is fucking amazing. And if it was the end, I would have hated it, probably.
So here's the thing. This is classic Argento misdirection.
Right.
Because if you're thinking about this movie logically, you know that
it cannot be Carlo. And thankfully Marcus immediately realizes that.
Almost immediately.
Like, it can't be him.
I mean, the very next scene,
you know,
he's
it
like,
can't be him. It's impossible. He was drunk in the square when the scream happened. Like, it can't be him.
But it is an Italian movie.
So by killing him in the most extravagantly over the top way, you completely distract the audience from logic into the absurd.
You Italian,
right?
That's why I'm saying if this was the final kill, I would have disliked it. But since
I'm
it
also
is not,
explaining to our viewers why it's genius.
Yeah. Fair. So so Marcus, like, he's kind of lost in it for a little while, right? Until he gets back to near his apartment, and then he kind of has this memory of him talking to Carlos while the first murder happened. He's like, wait a fucking minute. Mm-hmm. So then he decides, because this movie's a lot about memory, what you remember, what's in your brain, how you've seen stuff, how your memories impacted your future, blah, blah, blah.
How your memories impact reality.
Yeah, how your memories impact reality, all of that, for sure. And he's like, I have to go back to the scene of the crime and look at this again. And that's when he sees the mirror, and he's like, oh my God, there was a fucking face.
Mirror. Yeah.
There was a face in the mirror. The killer was here. Right. And then the killer is there right behind him. I like how they try to obscure her. Like, at this point, I think you kind of put it together.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
You know, like, you don't need to be fooled at this moment, but to
put her in the mirror, like, put her in the picture again, like the mirror with the other painting, it's a different mirror at that point, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Or is it the same one?
Well, she's behind him, and they show her, like, with her head down and a hat on.
And she's in between the two other, like, ghoulish-looking figures in the painting. Yeah. It was probably the same. Yeah.
They have a little standoff. He runs into the hallway. She attacks him and goes to kill him, and she gets her necklace stuck in the fucking elevator. Man. Yeah. And this is a fucking amazing way to end the movie, right?
Yep.
Like,
because the chain of her necklace almost looks like a chainsaw chain, right? Like, it looks serrated.
It's sturdy,
and it's strong as fuck.
Yeah. The thing about this scene that gets me the most is that the way it's hooked is so easily untangled. But she's panicking. But she's panicking and pulling up.
Yep.
When all she needs to do is take a moment and push down, and she would be free of it. It's like, it's like you feel tension and anxiety for the killer in that moment.
Right. And this, like, it goes back to the last kill, because the last kill, meaning the previous one where Carlos dies, because nobody really ends him. There's no, like, justice in that. This is like justice in a way for Marcus,
Sure.
right? Like to actually press the button
Yeah.
that cuts this woman's fucking head off.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And then we get to watch his reflection for the entirety of the credits.
In the blood, in the Profondo Rosso blood.
Which mirrors the backstory. So we didn't really talk about what really happened that led Carlo to a life of drinking and to a line that he does say in the director's cut that is pretty good, because he's like, I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it basically talks about how his entire life has been something that he cannot forget and has changed the course of his life.
Yeah, it's the memory.
It's the memory of something that has changed.
I think the movie kind of relays that pretty well.
It does. But he flat out says it.
Right.
And when in one of those scenes where it's like where David Hemmings is trying to like piece everything together, and it's like, I know what you're going through, buddy, is basically what he's saying.
So the reason that he doesn't become a killer, why he has these problems later in life, is his mother has mental issues. His father is wants to put her back in a hospital. She refuses. And like Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, somewhere around Christmas, she kills the father and they cover it up.
Yep.
You got to get rid of everything. Got to get rid of everything.
And for the rest of his life, Carlo has been trying to protect his mother from what she had done.
So one other thing, I want to talk about the score.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say one thing first. So for Four Flies on Grey Velvet, which was the Giallo that Argento did before this, he wanted to get Deep Purple to do the soundtrack.
Nice.
They didn't. He went on to do another movie in between that, like a comedy or something, like 5 Days in Milan or something like that. Yeah. And then he did this, and he had a composer who he didn't like, and he wanted to get and this is in the Wikipedia, of course, he wanted to get Pink Floyd to come do the soundtrack for it, and they said no. So then somebody mentioned Goblin, and Claudio Simonetti like sent 2 compositions like in one night, and Argento's like, "You're fucking hired," and that's like fucking history.
Well, the rest is history. Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
Like this, it's like, I don't even know if this is the right word, like a seminal moment for like horror composition, like soundtrack stuff like that.
I mean, it is. I mean, you think about the next 3 movies. Goblin did probably was Deep Red, Suspiria, and Dawn of the Dead, right? I mean, it's like crazy. That's a crazy run of work right there.
Yeah, they stuck with him for like 5 movies, I think, after this. They even did like Dracula, or Claudio did Dracula, not Goblin.
Tenebrae is one of my favorite Goblin scores. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I like that this is also, it is very specifically a jazz score to play up to David Hemmings' character.
The pianist.
It's like a prog jazz score. Yeah. It really is like the Deep Red theme is one of my favorite like pieces of music from a movie, for sure. I love it so much. I play it in my car all the time when I'm driving. I'm like, this is good fucking driving.
Going
music.
out to killing.
Yep. So I have one thing to add here. I'm not sure, because I can't quite remember, because I have the worst memory on the planet, but I think that my sign-off to Film Seizure came from this movie. Because at the end of this movie, it says, "You have been watching Deep Red."
Oh yeah, all of Argento's movies do that.
Yeah.
I use it on B Movie Enema, the series.
There you go. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that's where I got the thing. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know I didn't make it up. It was referencing somebody. I'm pretty sure it was referencing Argento. Yeah,
it makes sense. Yeah. I mean, it totally makes sense. But yeah, it's like this was the first time I noticed that you have been watching.
Right.
So that's the first thing in the closing credits of B Movie Enema, the series. You have been watching B Movie Enema, the series.
Yep.
Yeah.
Word.
Neat. This is one of my favorite movies. I love it so much, and I'm thankful.
It's so good. It is so good.
Yep.
I'm very thankful that you guys allowed us to revisit it. Hopefully we added something new for those of you listeners who've been around for 290 episodes. I wonder if there's a single one. Thank you, Dennis.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did finally catch up with the October one. Yeah, he
Love
did.
it.
Yeah, he's still there. Yeah.
You're the
That's
man,
awesome.
Dennis.
Yeah, you
Well,
are.
I don't know. Dave probably too. Dave thinks. I know
Dave
he's listening to most of it.
Dave probably picks and chooses, but yeah.
But we appreciate anyone
Dave.
that listens.
Thanks to our
for
listeners.
sure. Yes. Next week. Does anyone have anything else to say, or should I just say what's next week?
No, I don't
Yeah, go for it.
Next week is our final movie in our Italian trip tour to Italy 3 or whatever Jeff called it this time. And
we have
are
a timeshare in Italy at this point, right?
We do have a timeshare. I don't even have to hide in the luggage when we go anymore.
Well, yeah, I appreciate it because like.
I mean,
I know what you do in there. You know, it's like it's a long flight over, so you have to poop, and it's like you ruin my socks.
Okay. But yeah, next week we are covering. Is it Michael or Michelle? It's Michael Suavi, Cemetery Man, or is it
I don't
Michelle?
know how it's pronounced. I think it's Michelle, but yeah, we had the same.
I've heard
debate.
it both ways.
We had the same debate in our episode when we first did it that we
so
weren't sure
called
Michelle or Michael. Yeah,
and we've had that debate again with
Stage Fright.
Stage Fright.
Yeah.
Now you know what I'm. Oh, so go ahead, Chuck. Anyway, go ahead.
I was just to say we're covering that for the last week of our trip. I look forward to it. Another revisit, as was previously mentioned, that'll conclude this trip.
And
Jeff, go ahead.
And I'm excited because I'll be able to talk a little bit more about Dylan Dog, which is a fantastic Italian comic book that has been ridiculously popular for decades. Dario Argento wrote the first issue.
Yeah, we'll talk. I think we'll do a little bit of our recap of why we did Dylan Dog and Cemetery Man together when we first recorded it, and Jeff will add even more of the goodness to that context.
So I'll talk to you guys an hour into next episode.
No,
I'm joking.
Yeah, I can sum it up probably
30 minutes,
relatively quickly.
There is a really good essay in the Seven release, Chuck, that will, I think, get you up to speed.
Okay, I'll take a look at that. Jeff, where can they find us?
They can find us. Just go to filmseizure.com, but you can find all of the places that you can subscribe to the podcast, like at the various podcast sites. You can also find where you can follow us on social media. Social media includes your typicals, your Facebook, your Instagram, your
now including Blue Sky,
yes, and Threads. Those are the new ones.
Nice.
So you can find us there. But yeah, and it's like, the typical podcast places, your Apple, your Google, your SoundCloud, your, TuneIn, Spotify, all those places. Yeah, we're there. But go to filmseizure.com to find those places. Next week, as Chuck said, we close out, the Italian stuff next, Wednesday, the 31st. It's episode number 299, guys.
Wow.
Insane.
Right on the verge of a third centennial. Yeah. And yeah, so that's Cemetery Man, aka Della Morte Dellamore. Anyway, nailed it. That is on. That's going to be Wednesday the 31st. This upcoming Monday for Monster Mondays, also at filmseizure.com. I have 1967's It. About a golem statue that gets used to kill people. It's good. It's actually a decent little British thriller. With Roddy McDowall, which we will get a whole lot more of here in a couple of months.
Oh my gosh, yes we will.
Yes we will. But anyway, this upcoming Friday at my website, bmovieanima.com, we have the conclusion of Steven Seagal month with General Commander. which that title always makes me chuckle because it is about as generic of a title as you can get, or a generic descriptor of anything or any
General Commando.
General Commander.
Okay.
So, it's kind of like, average delegator.
Yeah.
Anyway, so check that out. But hey, guys, our third trip to Italy is nearly done.
Concludes next week. Yeah,
we'll be back. I promise.
I know, and Jason cannot wait. But anyway, until then, I am Jeff Arbuckle.
I'm Chuck Moore.
And I am Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Deep Red.